So you can see here that the prior low that formed in this August, late August, early September period, or late August period over here, had a violation that occurred, and this was what we would call a left-hand translation. So this is a peak that occurred on the left side of the cycle. So here's our cycle bracket on the left side of the cycle over here. A peak occurred, and we had a violation of that prior low here that then shifts this overall cycle structure negative and would give us a insight into a likely continuation then on the downside. So as we made this next advance, the likelihood of it breaking out again would be lower, given that we had this breakdown. It was a very choppy period. Once the reversal scout rolled over, that was a confirmation of a peak was in place. And you can see that there was a pretty significant sell-off that then occurred all the way down into mid to late April here, where the low formed again. So we came into this cycle with a negative cycle structure. So that would mean that we're likely to have some challenges. We get into the first set of resistance zones, and you can see that Tesla did as it came in to this first set here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple different draws to get an idea of where those intermediate, Eric had asked about determining levels. So if I'm looking to understand where the resistances are, I want to know where my prior peaks are, and I want to know where my current lows are. So we had a peak, cycle peak here. This is like a mid cycle peak, and then we had our primary cycle peak up here. So I'm looking for some confluence of resistance, and you can see that the 38.2 to the 50%, which is typically when something is in a negatively configured pattern, is where you're going to have some initial resistance. So that rising phase got into that zone here, that 38.2 to 50, and then there was pretty much an immediate rejection that week as we then pulled back here in Tesla. And I'm just getting my bearings around all the information. So we have a support zone that runs from this 50% to this 78.6, and you can see how Tesla basically has gone sideways inside of this resistance and support zone area now for, gosh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 weeks, and testing this 50%, trying to hold that, and now looking to try to make another attempt into this resistance zone. So the question was intermediate time frame analysis. The overall structure for Tesla here is still negative. It would need a close above, either one or both of these 61.8s and then a breakout above that 78.6 to change this pattern significantly. However, right now the momentum is still positive. And if we go to the daily chart to help us with the analysis, we can get an idea of price action recently in this current cycle to see if it has some continuing opportunity on the upside, or if we're weakening. So we can see a cycle low here again happen here in April, and this is a positively configured cycle in that the low that is forming is definitely higher, clearly higher than the low that formed prior. So this is a basing cycle that it's showing at this point. And this would suggest that in this next cycle, there's likely going to be another move higher. And so what I would do then is try to get a sense of this overall pattern structure in terms of key levels on the upside as a combination of fib resistance, fib extension levels, and also the fib retracement levels. So I'm using the extension tool here, using the cycle low and a cycle peak, and then another mid-cycle low here, or minor cycle low. You can see there was a retest of that. So I'm looking at in Tesla right now, and in the short term, let's say next 1 to 3 weeks or so, upside projection of around 204.85 to 215 would be the upside projection in Tesla. And that is because the structure here, the configuration is positive, and we have a new cycle, a rising phase likely to start or is in the midst of starting already. There's a few more days left here in the cycle low time frame, cycle low timing window. But this next rising phase, based on this current pattern structure, is likely to see some higher prices. So this 204.85 to 215 over the next 1 to 4 weeks is the current projection.